Hi everyone and welcome back. So today we're continuing to look at the progress I've been making on building this IP Engineering kit for what they call Shelley the Tram Engine, but which I'm going to build as Toby from the Thomas and Friends stories. So before I can start actually assembling the full body, I need to deal with some of the other detailing because they will involve drilling into the footplate, etc. And it'll be easier when I've not got the whole body assembled. So we're looking specifically at the buffer beams, which I have shown briefly before, and the coupling blocks. This actually will have a pin and a hook through, so that you can do a chain coupling. Now, obviously, Toby usually has two buffers on the front. The kit just comes with one that slots through the middle to give you something that looks like this. Now, it may not be particularly prototypical, but it will make more sense. Because if I put buffers out here and then run it on 32mm gauge track or 45mm gauge track even, they're going to be outside the track. So anything you're trying to push or anything, they're going to be in the wrong place. So although it look quite right, I'm going to go with the one coupling block from and buffer head from the kit. But as we talked about in a previous video, there are some problems with buffer beams. So particularly the two buffer beams that come in the kit are nice heavy white metal castings, but they're not the same size. They differ in length, and the hole's not in the middle. So they're a bit problematic to fit to the kit. So what I did was I went ahead and did a 3D printed version. Now this prints really quickly because it essentially prints flat on the build tray. So gives nice, really flat, smooth detail on this top surface, and the back's not so good because it's on the build plate. But then it doesn't matter because it's going to get glued to the model. So I've done a version where the hull is directly in the middle. Everything else is exactly as on the original part, but you can tell they're a different size and length, and the hole's better set. This is actually a spare. I printed a couple of sets, and I have attached them to the kit already. So I say this thing's huge, so getting it under the camera is a bit tricky. But there you go. So you can see I've glued it onto the end, and I've drilled the hole through. So that now goes all the way through into the middle. And then the buffer, the cow catchers will glue on here at some later date. I'm not going to glue them on before I paint, because otherwise I'd have to get up the back to paint and it would be a bit of a pain. So I think what I'm going to do is paint the model and then paint the cow catchers and then glue them on at the end. I think that will make more sense. But for now, the kind of buffer beams are on. And as I say, there's one at the other end as well that's exactly the same. The problem is these obviously have a nice screw on the back. There's a nut provided, so you screw it in and kind of bolt it to the coupling block. But the problem is, if I take this here and push it through the hole, it doesn't go all the way in. Now I could cut a bit off the end of the screw and that would probably be okay, that one would work. But if I turn this around and look at the other end, it's nowhere near fitting. And that's because, if we turn it over and have a look, the chassis comes right up to the wood virtually. At this end, there's a bigger gap, but it's not brilliant. And although, as you can see, there are holes in the end plates, they're not in the right place for the height of the hole. You can kind of see the hole is all the way down the bottom through here. You can't quite see it. It is there. So, as I say, I could probably cut down the one at this end, and because I could screw it on, and there would still be space for that to hold nice and tight. But this end, there's only just enough space for the nut in the gap, and there's not going to be enough really nicely to hold on to. So I think my plan of action is that I'm going to undo the screws that hold this end plate on and then twist it round, which means that the solid piece will be nearly up against the back of the motor contacts. I've checked, and I think from measuring there'll be enough space that it won't actually touch the motoring contacts, but it will basically hold the chassis together with much more space at this end. I might also do the same at this end, just so I don't have to cut the cut the screw. The problem is that it will move the hole where this screw currently goes through to locate. Now, as I say, I've done a bit of measuring. I haven't actually tried it yet, but I think what I actually will do is turn this piece around, but leave the screw coming through the same hole, because I think it will actually put the chassis, the wheels, more central. If you remember, they're offset, they're nearer this end than this end, just because of where this locating hole was. So I think if I switch that round, it'll put it more central, which is probably a bit better for balance. The problem with that then is that, of course, the screw that comes down through the middle won't be in the right place. So I think what I'll do is essentially peel off this plastic, drill another hole, and then put the plastic spacer back. And I think that should then allow it to sit perfectly central and have enough room at either end for the coupling blocks. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll come back and we'll have another look and see if that actually all worked, or if we'll have to think up some other solution. But I think that's the best thing for now. Right, as expected, that wasn't particularly difficult, and everything seems to have worked out. So as you can tell, the buffers, yeah, whatever we're going to call them, buffers, are on. I need to drill out the holes in them so that they take their little coupling hook, but that's fine. But they're on and they're fixed. In the end, yes, what I did was kind of what I'd discussed and planned in the previous parts. So I've essentially switched round these two end plates so that instead of fitting so that they're at the very end, they're the other way round. Doesn't seem to affect the chassis in any sense, but moves these beams out of the way so that the bar with the screw can fit through, and that's the same at both ends. I did have to move the central screw and also move the cutout slightly central so that the gearbox continues to clear it, but again, not a huge amount of work there. That all works, and as you can possibly tell from the video, the wheels now are in a slightly more central location. They don't overhang quite as much. You can kind of see it in this hole. See if I can get a better shot. It's difficult to see, but in the hole, this bar itself is now a bit more central, which is kind of mostly centered between the wheels. So the whole thing is a bit better balanced end to end. So that's probably a win. The one thing that was a little bit problematic is that to get this plate is underneath this screw from the coupling block, from the buffer. So to get the pin through, I had to actually unscrew the pin slightly and then lower it in and then screw the pin back in. I think there's enough clearance that if I actually shorten this pin so that it doesn't protrude above the footplate at all, then it will just slot into place. But if I do need to take it out, then undoing that screw to let the whole thing slide sideways isn't a problem at all. That's nice and easy to do if that needs to happen. As I say, I'm not intending to have to take the chassis out very often. So yeah, I'm not bothered about having to undo that screw, but everything now fits, which means I think finally I should be able to get moving on to the next thing, which is to essentially build the bodywork up on this footplate. So that hopefully will be the next video. With Christmas coming up, happy Christmas everybody, happy holidays. I have no idea how long before I'll actually get to that, but hopefully I'll continue to try and turn out a video a week. I didn't quite manage it last year over the Christmas holidays, and things kind of then tailed off after Christmas. I want to try and avoid that this year because I want to try and carry on with the regular videos. It helps me with making sure I do some modelling each week as well. So yeah, hopefully that will continue. But we'll find out when the next video appears, and if you don't want to make sure you don't want to miss it, then remember the subscribe link is down here somewhere. Thanks for watching.